Hello, viewers. So, I recently shared a review of the famous Satyajit Ray movie Devi, released in 1960. And many of Satyajit Ray's movies are appreciated the world over. So, I found this video on YouTube, which was uploaded 2 years back. It does not have that many views, but I found it very interesting. And in this video, two people who are not from India watched Devi for the first time and they share their reaction to the movie. So I'm going to react to their reaction to watching Devi. I hope you will like it. So the review that we are going to react to has heavy spoilers. If you don't want the movie to be spoiled in any way, then this is the spoiler alert for you. And I will remind you about that while reacting to the video as well. So these are two American individuals, Wade and Joe, who have watched a bunch of Criterion Collection movies. Criterion Collection, if you're not aware, is an organization which has restored to good condition some of the greatest movies that have ever been made. And if you're one of those people who are not aware of the history of cinema is only about 100 years old. Before 100 years, there was no cinema. There was visual arts, there was theater, but cinema didn't exist. So cinema is a 20th century phenomenon, and it's now extending into the 21st century. But you don't really have that many movies in the history of the humanity if you have to take it into account. So in the early part of the 20th century, up to say I would say the 60s, many of the films, especially in India, the films were not preserved. And they were restored by this organization called Criterion Collection, and they have released them as DVDs, Blu-rays, other forms of media. So these two people here on your screen, they have these videos called Criterion Connection, where they watch these legendary movies, and they have now watched the 1960 Satyajit Ray movie Devi, which they admit is the first movie they've seen from India, and also the first Bengali movie they've seen. And in this video, they'll be sharing their reaction. So I'll be pausing the video intermittently if I have to elaborate some point. Otherwise, I'll just play the video. This does not have many views. This original video does not have many views, but it is certainly worth watching to understand the universal appeal of Satyajit Ray movies, which I believe do not just transcend the barrier of space in terms of national boundaries. His movies can be appreciated by people from all nationalities, but it also transcends the barrier of time. So even a 1960 movie can be relevant 60 years later.
Action Wade. And I'm Joe. And today we're doing our first film from India, our first Bengali film. And long overdue. Yes, it's from 1960. It is directed by Satyajit Ray. And it came out.
Note how the struggle to pronounce the name, Satyajit Ray. Of course, Satyajit Ray is how we pronounce it in Bengali, but I'm sure I'm going to get Vittorio Del Sica or Federico Fellini wrong in comparison with how Italians pronounce it. So, not that bad.
Last month on Blu-ray and DVD. This is a recent Criterion release. I thought, hey, you know what? I was going through, because October we do our Halloween stuff. I was like, what movies that came out that we should do? And I was like, oh, that's one we can do. So that's what we're going to do. And somehow we have dodged Rye before. I don't know how we missed one of his movies. Yes. For all this time. I don't know either, but this film is a pretty simple story of a young couple. I believe she's like 16 in this. I believe, or maybe, probably around that age, yeah. Yeah, around that age. She's married. They have a nice little chemistry. They love each other. There's endearment with the characters. And then the husband, I believe it's the husband's father, comes in. It's like, I had a dream, and I thought you were the goddess Kali, who I'm not really that. I'm, part.
I like the vibe of this video. They're just scratching themselves and just casually having a conversation. It's well shot in terms of the lighting and the sound quality of it. That is something I can learn from them. Otherwise, it's a very chill vibe. It's not really, if I can dare to say so, a very professional setup.
Because we're not really, we don't practice Hindu, and so we don't know much about Hinduism and stuff like that. But I did look up, Kali is the goddess of creation, destruction, power, and time. quadruple threat, as you will, if you will. Yep. So this guy's like, "Oh, you're pretty much the Messiah," kind of like, and she's like, "I don't know," and he convinces a whole bunch of people, and she, starts kind of like, she's like, "Am I the reincarnation of this person?" Yeah. And
so that's the situation. If you have a bunch of people who keep telling you that you are divine, you're a divine force, then there is a possibility that a human being can start believing that. And even if they don't start believing it, they can at least start questioning whether they actually are a divine reincarnation of a deity or not. And that's a dangerous place to be in.
husband's like, "No," and it's based the story of that. It's kind of like, it's a story that's not just in this it's not just in this story, but it's more of like in the Bible, there's the golden calf.
So they're able to find a story which is comparable from the Bible, which is the parable of the golden calf. Now, this is the thing about Satyajit Ray movies. His movies, although talk about a particular place and particular setting, and often are based on a particular story, they convey universal themes, which people from all over the world can appreciate by finding parallels in their own lives or in the stories that they have read while growing up.
Stuff like that of, just false belief and just kind of falling for things, objectification, delusion, fanaticism, just like superstition, blind belief, stuff like that. That's the core theme of this. Yeah, it's like getting distracted and believing kind of things that aren't necessarily true, but like could be true. Yeah. And it's that like little seed that grows and grows, and it's like, well, then now she starts thinking she is the goddess, and it's carrying herself as such. Yeah, and you feel for her. I believe the character's name I wrote down here, Doya, basically short for Doya Moi.
So the character is named Dayamoi, of course, and it is difficult for an American to pronounce it. So, but good job. Good job trying to attempt to pronounce it. Not that wrong.
It's played by Shamila Tagore. She's great in this. She feels kind. She feels genuine in the beginning, and then when all this start happening, I think her belief, her self-esteem is kind of like boosted and then crumbles. And
So this is a very important point that if there is somebody or a group of people who keep telling you that you are great, that you are divine, that you have the supernatural inside you, then there is a possibility, even if you don't believe that, even if you don't think that you are some sort of a god, you at least start feeling better about yourself. Your self-esteem does get boosted, as they are pointing out, and if things don't work out, then it's a big disaster for your self-esteem. So that's also a story. That's the crux of the human aspect of this story, which talks largely about the supernatural.
yeah, and I also feel the husband, I forget his name, he also is pretty good. There's a lot of
So the husband was played by Soumitra Chatterjee, a legendary Indian actor, and the character was called Uma, if I'm not wrong. I forget the full name again.
He's like really trying to get his wife back from this. Yeah, because what happens is it changes her. Yeah, and he's like, this isn't who I fell in love with. You're a different person, and
Now, the important point here, I don't want to highlight this, but I guess the Americans do not understand that in Indian marriages of that era, it was not falling in love and then getting married. The era that has been depicted in Devi, they've not categorically mentioned the years in the movie, but you can understand from various aspects, from the fact that there is no automobile, that people are traveling, but they're being carried on shoulders in what is called palki in Bengali, and I think the English word is palanquin, with the reliance on boats to travel from one part of Bengal to another part. you can sort of understand this is from the 19th century because the British have arrived. The male protagonist is learning English in college. So from all these hints, you get to an understanding that maybe this is the 19th century India under British rule. So you get that sense. But in that era, you don't really think of marriage as something which happens after you fall in love. It's something which happens. Love is something which happens after marriage. So this falling in love thing, you have to get that into the right context.
Yeah, and I love a lot of the like. I love the way they shoot the dream sequences. Yeah, and because it's this way of blending reality with surrealism, and it makes you like almost wonder yourself. Like, is this the dream or is this the real part? Yeah. And I just love the aesthetics of it and just how they're able to pull it off. Yeah. It's well shot, well lit, yeah. Great performances. Most from the couple, everyone else is fine. They do their job. That's the point. The father-in-law, he does his job. He's almost a little scary with how like dedicated to the idea he is. And it's a movie that kind of, this made
Now, this is again, I feel a little bit of an oversimplification. Yes, the father-in-law is dedicated to the idea, but he is not scary. If you want to understand it from the point of view of the father-in-law, it is quite understandable for him to start believing that his daughter-in-law is some sort of a divine force in his life. Because if you follow the dialogue, there is a scene where um, the daughter-in-law is nursing the father-in-law, and he says that back when my wife passed away, I was not able to walk. I was barely able to walk, but now I can walk without a walking stick, thanks to the nursing provided by the daughter-in-law. So his life has visibly improved. He is taken good care of by the daughter-in-law, and so he can start becoming very dependent on the daughter-in-law. And because he has lived this life of worshipping a certain goddess, he can be forgiven to start believing that this particular person is definitely an incarnation of the divine deity that he has spent his life worshipping. Now, having said that, once he starts believing it, he also makes room for questioning his own mental faculties when he is confronted by his educated son, the husband of the female protagonist in the movie. There is a scene where the husband confronts him and categorically says that you are insane for believing this. And he, to his credit, the father-in-law or the father of the husband, he, to his credit, pauses and wonders, am I really mad? Have I really gone crazy? Is it a question of my poor judgment? Am I taking my dream too seriously? Those precious moments are devoted to that moment of self doubt that creeps into the minds of the otherwise crazy person. But the director, to his credit, does provide time to the character to question his belief. He's not a very black and white crazy character. There is room for gray, as is present in most wonderfully written characters in Satyajit Ray movies.
1960, but in 2021, as this video is filmed, unless you're watching in the future,
So yes, I am watching in the future. I'm watching in 2024. This is a video from 2021, and the movie is from 1960, which again highlights the fact that Satyajit Ray movies transcend the barriers of time. They remain timeless, and they can also be appreciated in different cultures around the world, as can be evidenced from the review from two Americans.
The idea of like the seed is planted, and I'm just saying like stuff like Trump or something like that, but also like stuff like flat Earth theory.
This is a critical point here. What they are saying is that the idea is extremely modern. I would say the idea is timeless because although they are clearly highlighting the scene in a village in India where a certain person is believed to be the reincarnation of a goddess, it's basically an ignorant belief which takes root. Now, belief can be the belief in the earth being flat or any other ignorant belief, which, if allowed to go unchecked, can take a life of its own and can result in various consequences that you can't even imagine. And this is possible anywhere in the world.
these weird conspiracy theories they put in there, and it grows. But those things, people believe it.
Yeah,
they believe it.
It's this, these small nuggets that start small and just gain traction and they grow, and how people can easily get sucked in. Whether it's true or not, I'm not going to sit here and say. But,
yeah.
But there's some wild stuff out there, and yeah, this movie, it's incredibly relatable still.
Yeah.
And
it's almost timeless.
Yeah.
Because it's the human condition. Of,
and we're always searching for like purpose and meaning. And this, like, the father-in-law has a dream and he thinks, oh, that's a vision. That's telling me something. And then the more he brings it up, the more he makes it true for himself. And the more he convinces the daughter, like, oh, like it must mean something. Maybe I do mean more.
His passion and belief.
Yeah.
His vigorous belief, it also rubs off on everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's like a wildfire.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're like, oh no. And then it culminates to like, she can heal the sick.
Yeah.
And deals with a certain child. And you're like, oh, this is not going to end well. Maybe they get a lucky break and they don't.
Yeah.
It's a tragic tale at the end. So, Joe.
So this is the kind of review I don't like, because they essentially tell the entire plot. If you reveal the entire plot, you spoil the movie for other people. And I can understand that even I am guilty of it, because I am telling you about the spoilers after they spoiled it. But there will be a disclaimer at the beginning of this video, which you can consider as a callback. This part can be considered as a callback. So yes, this is the style of reviewing I don't like, where you tell the plot of the story. You shouldn't tell the plot of the story, because even if it is a plot you can see, if there's no sudden twist, still the way in which different characters react to different situations is something you want to find out for yourself, that when you watch the movie yourself.
I guess the big question that we ask every episode is, would you recommend this film to the general audience?
I honestly would. I think it's worth watching. And if nothing else, but to kind of expand like what you're watching.
Okay.
Like this is going to be far and away different than most things that people are going to watch. At least us in America.
Yeah, I don't really watch. I don't want to say this is the first film from India I've watched, because I might have watched other ones. I just don't remember. I watched a lot of movies in my life, but this is, it's very different. It's different from coming from like the West culture.
Yeah, and I think it's worth watching just for that, and having like, despite the details, having that idea of an idea catching fire.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's a different culture, but it's a universal idea.
Yeah, and
So that's the perfect theme to end the video on. They have recommended it to their American viewers and to viewers all around the world. And the perfect summation of Satyajit Ray movie is, the idea is universal, the culture is strictly Bengali. And it can appear to be alien to people who are not from Bengal, can be different to people who are not from Bengal. So it's a different culture for people around the world, but the idea remains universal. So there you have it. This is my reaction video to a review by two Americans, and you can check out the channel. They have excellent video. They have almost 420 videos, if I got the number correct. And they talk about a plethora of movies, and it can help you expand the new movies that you otherwise would not check out. So thank you for watching this video. Take care.